As the 2020 World Juniors end, where we just witnessed an insane amount of draft eligibles play a large role, if not dominate, on their respective teams, which is definitely a very rare thing, as only a handful of players from each draft class are key players in the World Juniors. The 2020 NHL draft is already proving to be an extremely talented and deep draft that has loads of talent in every single position. It's showing signs of being a draft similar to the 2015 NHL draft, which of course was the McDavid draft, which has proved to be one of the best drafts we've seen in modern day NHL history. And now that we're past the midpoint of the 2019-2020 season, we are seeing many prospects solidify themselves in the rankings. So in today's video, we're going to be doing a mid-season mock draft of the top 15 prospects heading into the 2020 NHL draft. The team positions will also be based on team standings as of January 6th, so there definitely will be some changes, some fluctuation here, and then of course the draft lottery. And before we start this video, make sure to press subscribe for some more awesome hockey content, guys. The support has been insane. My goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers this year. So hopefully, as I make more videos, I keep improving. Your guys' support has just been amazing. So to start with the 31st team in the NHL at the moment, the Detroit Red Wings select Alexis Lafreniere. Lafreniere, since my last mock draft, has made a clear separation within this draft. He has just absolutely dominated. 70 points in 32 games this season, totals we haven't seen since Connor McDavid in the CHL. And not only has he displayed dominance in the Q, but he led Team Canada to gold this past World Juniors with an insane 10 points in 5 games from a draft eligible, which means that Lafreniere had better production than both Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby within their draft years. And to put the cherry on top, he also took home the MVP of the tournament. And the Red Wings are kind of in need of a centerman, but Lafreniere may just be a generational talent in the making. He's a complete winger that is dynamic in every single sense. With the second overall pick in the 2020 draft, the New Jersey Devils select Quinton Byfield. Byfield is just a freak of nature. Current measurements on Byfield are believed to be out of date, as he stands closer to 6'5", 230 pounds as a 17-year-old power forward centerman who can skate like the wind given his size. 57 points in 30 OHL games this season, just great production. He is also part of the World Junior team that just took home gold. Now on a stat Team Canada team, he was lucky to get in a couple shifts per game, but he definitely still had some great looks. I do feel like New Jersey has the positional needs of a winger or perhaps a defenseman, as I currently have Nico Hischier and Jack Hughes in the center, but I do feel like it would be very difficult to pass up on a power centerman who can add a completely different dynamic to a Devils team who has a lot more smaller framed skilled players. At number 3, the Ottawa Senators draft Tim Stutzle. This may be a bit controversial, but the Ottawa Senators at the moment, if you take a look at their depth charts, are in need for a number 1 centerman in their rebuild. And Tim Stutzle has the tool set to be a potential high-end number 1 centerman. Stutzle is currently playing in DEL, the top-ranked league in Germany, and Stutzle has just been terrific. Nearly a point per game with 23 points in 25 games this season, which is an amazing feat for a 17-year-old. And he was also a key player for Team Germany in this past World Juniors, putting up a point per game with 5 points in 5 games. And Stutzle has just been developing rapidly this season in every sense. He's gotten stronger, he's gotten taller, and he's been a major dark horse coming into this season. At number 4, the Anaheim Ducks draft Lucas Raymond. And Lucas Raymond is a dynamic goal-scoring winger who has the tool set to be an offensive superstar at the NHL level. He's been progressing really well this season, 5 points in 16 SHL games as a 17-year-old, and 4 points in the 7 World Junior games from this past tournament, where he had some really just great looks, silky mitts, elite skating, he has a good shot, and great playmaking ability. At number 5, the LA Kings draft Jamie Drysdale, and Drysdale has really separated himself apart from the other defensemen in this draft. He's a highly coveted right-handed defenseman who has tremendous offensive upside and the tool set to be an elite two-way defender, and he's actually pretty reminiscent of Cale Makar. 31 points in 29 OHL games this season, and Drysdale was also a key piece to Team Canada's blue line during this World Juniors, where he put up 3 points in 7 games and really filled in and took on a bigger role, especially when Bowen Byron was sick. And the last Canadian defenseman to play in the World Juniors who was a draft eligible was Aaron Ekblad. So definitely a very impressive feat, and Drysdale has been developing extremely well. At number 6, the Ottawa Senators draft Alexander Holtz. And yes, you heard that correctly. The Ottawa Senators received their first round pick in the Karlsson trade that was not lottery protected. The Sharks are really struggling this season, meaning there's a high chance that this is a lottery pick. So I'll ask this question: if we throw in a top 5 pick, a part of this whole trade history, a part of this crazy draft, does this deal seem closer? Holtz, just like his international teammate Lucas Raymond, is a very skilled Swedish winger with a very high offensive ceiling. Elite skating, shot, vision, hockey IQ, 5 goals, 8 points in 21 SHL games this season, 5 points in his 7 World Junior appearances. Holtz is just a pure goal scorer who will definitely help this Ottawa Senators rebuild, especially if he's selected upon a guy like Tim Stutzle. That would just be insane for the Ottawa Senators franchise. At number 7, the New York Rangers draft Antoine Lundell. Unfortunately, Lundell was unable to participate in this past World Juniors due to injury, but he's been displaying the traits of a complete 200-foot centerman with great hockey IQ and scoring upside. 12 points in 21 Liga games this season, and Lundell would be a great piece to add among fellow Finn Capo Caco. At number 8, the Montreal Canadiens draft Cole Perfetti. And Cole Perfetti may just have the best hockey IQ in this entire draft class. Like Lundell, he's a complete 200-foot player, but lacks explosiveness compared to some other players in this draft. But he does have elite vision, playmaking ability. He had 61 points in 36 games this season for the Saginaw Spirit, and Perfetti has a toolset of being a number 1 centerman, which just goes to show how deep this draft is. At number 9, the Chicago Blackhawks draft Marco Rossi. Marco Rossi has been dominating the OHL this season on a very good Ottawa 67s team. An insane 66 points in 28 games, which currently leads the entire OHL in points. Now, Rossi does have a smaller frame, coming in at 5'9", and was only a week off from being a 2019 draft eligible, but he has high-end hockey IQ, hands, and again, has number 1 centerman upside, which is absolutely just insane, because when does a 2-point per game player who doesn't have any glaring holes in their game not get selected in the top 5? And honestly, the more I analyze this draft and really look into scouting reports, it kind of reminds me of the 2017 NHL draft where you know, after like Lafreniere, maybe Raymond, and Byfield, the draft board can really just go anywhere, really just depending on team needs. At number 10, the Nashville Predators select Dylan Holloway. And Holloway is an elite skating power forward who plays a strong 200-foot game. And Holloway decided to take the Cale Makar route. Last season he played in the AJHL where he put up 88 points in 53 games, and then he committed to the University of Wisconsin. And playing alongside of Turcotte and Cole Caulfield, he has 7 points in 17 games as a freshman, which is definitely good production, and he has the upside of being a top 6 goal scorer power forward. At number 11, the Buffalo Sabres draft Yaroslav Askarov. And Askarov is definitely a very interesting case. He has the upside of being a franchise goaltender, but depending on team needs, you know, scouts really have him anywhere from being inside the top 5 to outside the top 10. And he's been impressing many scouts. He's been putting up great totals in the VHL as a 17-year-old goaltender, which is very rare. He made his first KHL appearance and played exceptionally well, and was very solid for Russia during the World Juniors. Now, he did have some shaky looks at times, but overall, he played great. At number 12, the Minnesota Wild draft Noel Gunler. To most scouts, Gunler is seen as the purest shooter in this entire draft. He has an NHL caliber release, which is his biggest asset. He has 8 points in 30 SHL games this season. He has top 10, if not top 5 upside, but Gunler has been flagged for being a bit too one-dimensional. He has a strong, dynamic offensive game, but he really needs to put more effort into his defensive side of the game. But if he does continue to develop his overall game in the next few seasons in the SHL, he is a natural goal scorer who has 30-40 goal upside in the NHL. At number 13, the Columbus Blue Jackets draft Jan Mysak. Definitely a wild card at this spot, but Jan Mysak definitely has the upside of a great scoring winger. He has great vision, playmaking, and a very lethal shot. He's played in the men's Czech league since he was 16, and he's been developing really well and really shows the toolset of a top 6 NHL talent. 9 points in 26 games this year in a men's league, and some really great looks in the World Juniors, which actually led him to take his route to the CHL, which is pretty interesting because mid-season he randomly decides to commit to the CHL, where he's definitely going to gain more exposure. And of course, if Mysak does come in and plays really well, I could definitely see him being a top 15 pick in this draft because he also has the ability to play center. At number 14, the Winnipeg Jets draft Justin Barron. The Jets this season have done an excellent job surviving the storm with a torn up blue line, but they're definitely still in need of adding more defensive assets. And Justin Barron may end up going a bit higher within this draft, but if he is available at number 14, it would be the perfect selection for the Jets. Ville Heinola was an exceptional pick last draft, and Barron is a complete 200-foot defenseman who would be a potential perfect match for Heinola, who's an offensive-minded defenseman. 17 points in 27 games this season, he can eat up massive minutes and play in any single situation. Unfortunately, this season, he's out for the time being with a blood clot, so hopefully he does have a speedy and safe recovery because that is definitely just some scary news. At number 15, the Calgary Flames draft Hendrix Lapierre. Hendrix really made a name for himself as he dominated the Ivan Hlinka tournament, putting up 11 points in 5 games. And Hendrix is a very complete centerman who plays a 200-foot game who also has high-level playmaking ability. He has 17 points in 19 games this season, however, there is one big concern. Lapierre has sustained his 3rd concussion in 1 year. Now, this is very concerning and it may scare away a lot of teams because he is a potential top 10 talent. You know, he's really reminiscent of like a Patrice Bergeron at that age, and his concussion history may not be a big concern, but obviously, you know, a lot of teams are going to look at this and really weigh the pros and cons when there's other great talents on the board and decide whether they want to take on an injury-prone Lapierre or go another direction. But his upside of being a potential complete centerman with great offensive upside is definitely very tempting to any team. But anyways guys, there is my 2020 mock draft. This draft is just looking so fun. There's so much talent, and honestly, kind of like I mentioned before, this is kind of reminding me of like the 2017 NHL draft where, you know, after Lafreniere, maybe Byfield and Raymond, this draft can really go anywhere. Because when a draft is this deep and has so much talent, where teams aren't necessarily forced to just choose the best player available because, you know, arguably there's many players who are just as good in the same general position. And on the day of the draft, I do expect to see some big draft surprises where we see players go a lot higher or maybe drop down a lot lower than we would have expected. But anyways guys, thank you guys so much for all the support. We just hit 3,000 subscribers. You guys are amazing. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already. See you guys later.